Number 9. Love Triangle. This case has some serious twists and turns. When 29-year-old nurse Sherry Rasmussen was found brutally murdered by husband John Rutan at home in 1986, it seemed like a harrowing yet straightforward crime. Police concluded that she'd been killed in a home invasion turned bad. Over 20 years later, the truth has finally come out. This wasn't a burglary at all, but a case of jealousy. And the perpetrator? One Stephanie Lazarus. Not only did she work for the LAPD, but she also used to be involved with John Rutan. It was known that she had been giving Rasmussen a hard time for marrying Rutan. The family pushed for the investigation to be reopened. When it finally was, Lazarus was found guilty. She received a sentence of 27 years to life. Thinking about it, it's pretty strange that the case was treated as a break-in anyway. How come? Let's take a look at what police found when they entered the property. It's understandable in a way that they believe the situation was a break-in. Reportedly, there were home invasions taking place in the area, so that makes sense. However, Rasmussen had been killed in a very violent way. Not only was she beaten, she was shot 3 times. She also had bites on her left forearm. Not much taken from the scene either. Rasmussen's BMW was missing, as was her and Rutan's marriage license. Maybe it didn't look like much at first, but still, as sources have noted, the lack of anything else being stolen was suspicious. On top of all of that was a bite mark. This wasn't factored in like it should have been, because it was assumed the perpetrator was male, despite the fact that women are typically associated with biting. Did you know that? Detectives opted to believe that a man was responsible. According to the case record, people came out to speak against the detective who lost her end of the love triangle. During the initial investigation and continuing through the next 10 years. However, their statements were dismissed. All the recordings about the suspicious lady cop were missing. Number 8. Catfish. Getting bored in a relationship is common, and how you prefer to spice things up is up to you. This is the story of Thomas Montgomery, who started to get bored with his life, his wife, and started to chat with a teenage girl he had met in a chat room. Her username was Tall Hot Blonde. He lied about his age and made the girl believe he was 18 instead of his actual age, which was 47. The two started to date each other online. The cyber relationship continued until his wife found out about it. Realizing he could no longer pursue the relationship anymore, Thomas told the truth to Tall Hot Blonde about his real age. Horrified, the teen turned her attention to Thomas's 22-year-old co-worker, Brian Barrett. The two grew closer, and it triggered Thomas, who didn't like that she was able to move on so quickly. In 2006, as Brian sat in his car, Thomas shot him with a sniper rifle. When investigators arrived at the scene and started questioning coworkers, they learned about the strange love triangle. Worried about Tall Hot Blonde's safety, police went to her home to check on her. They found Mary Shield, a middle-aged mom. It turned out Mary had been pretending to be her teenage daughter Jessie and was catfishing the two men all along. Thomas is currently serving a 20-year sentence, and although Mary was never convicted of anything, her daughter and husband no longer speak to her. Number 7. Teaching Love and Murder. In 1990, a case shocked the world when Gregory, Pamela Smart's husband, was found murdered. In the beginning, the public sympathized with the grieving 23-year-old widow, but investigators soon found out that it was Pamela and her new lover, 15-year-old William Billy Flynn, who was responsible for the murder of her husband. Pamela Smart was a teacher at Winnicott High School in Manchester, New Hampshire. This is where her inappropriate relationship with her student Billy started. She planned the murder to avoid a pricey divorce and instead profit from her husband's insurance money. She asked Billy to murder Gregory, telling Billy their new sex life was at stake. She laid out a condition that she would not make love to Billy if he didn't do what she said. As strange and disturbing as it was, it worked. 15-year-old boys are not the sharpest tools in the shed, especially when sex is involved. She convinced him to commit murder and then cover it up with the help of his friends. The plan was to make it look like a botched robbery, but Smart was accused of being the mastermind of the killing. The 4 teenagers testified against the deranged teacher in court, cutting deals with the state. The media loves drama, and the case was blown up all over the media. It became an idea for filmmakers and inspired the movie To Die For, starring Nicole Kidman. Billy served 25 years of the sentence and is out of prison now. However, Pamela is serving a life sentence, but still calls herself innocent. Number 6, the parachute murder. This story is going to blow your mind, for it has the most unimaginable murder weapon involved: a parachute. In 2006, Els Klottermans and Els Van Doren decided to go skydiving with their instructor, Marcel Summers. It seems that there was some tension between the three, as both women were eyeing for the instructor's affection. Klottermans started to feel unhinged when she overheard Marcel and Van Doren having sex one day when the three of them were hanging out. She was devastated. During their skydiving expedition, which happened the following day, Van Doren suddenly found out that both her parachute and safety chute had been cut. It was too late. She had already taken the leap and died upon impact. Police suspected Klottermans immediately. When they called her in for questioning, she tried to take her own life, which obviously made her look even that much more guilty. The police couldn't find any solid evidence. However, they were certain she cut the cords and sentenced her to 30 years in prison. She, however, still maintains her innocence. What do you think? Did Els sabotage her friend's parachute, or was it just a bad coincidence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 5, love gone wrong. Your pastor is supposed to be a friend and help you connect to God, but for one church leader, he made a different connection, one that would be his downfall. 40-year-old Teresa Stone and her husband Randy had been together since they were very young. They had 2 beautiful children and a very happy marriage. The couple joined New Hope Baptist Church. They became close friends with Pastor David Love. Of course, they had no idea exactly how close this, quote, friendship would become. Over the years, love had blossomed between Teresa and the pastor. In 2010, Randy was found shot and killed in his insurance office. Shocked family and friends showed up to New Hope Baptist Church to light candles and listen to Pastor Love's loving eulogy to his late friend. But investigators were suspicious. When both Pastor Love and Teresa were called in for questioning, police were skeptical of their airtight alibis. Investigators discovered a torn-up letter in the trash at Teresa's office that didn't match her husband's handwriting. The letter appeared to detectives as a happy birthday or love letter with phrases such as, "Happy birthday, love. I am not in control of things yet, but when we are fully together, your birthday will always be exciting." Investigators learned that Teresa and David were having an affair. She had given a gun to David in hope that, with her husband out of the way, they could start a new life together. David is currently serving a life sentence, and Teresa is serving an 8-year sentence for conspiracy to commit murder. These two could have chosen divorce, said prosecutor Tammy Dickinson. Instead, they chose murder. Number 4, Shady Baby Daddy. In 2007, witnesses watched in horror as a masked woman shot Heather Garris in the parking lot of a credit union. The gunman said, quote, "You ruined my life, get on the ground," before pulling the trigger. Upon investigation, it came to light that Shauna Nelson, a co-worker, had been having a public affair with Heather's husband, Ignacio. Ignacio was the father of Shauna's baby. Throughout the 3 years of their affair, Ignacio was trying to break up with her after she got pregnant. However, when they finally broke up for good, Shauna lost her mind. She snapped and decided to get revenge. She chose to murder her ex-lover's wife, Heather. She was soon found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. Soon Ignacio too admitted his mistake and took responsibility for his wife's death. He didn't want to set a bad example for his children, so he decided to admit his infidelity on national television. He agrees that if he hadn't gotten into the extramarital relationship, his children would still have their mother. But what's done is done. Number 3, family affair. Love is blind, but to be blinded by that emotion to an extent you take someone's life is absolutely unfair. But this is what happened to Robin Height, who started sneaking around and having an affair with her brother-in-law, Craig. Robin's husband, Carrie, found out about the relationship between his brother and his wife, but before he could take any action, the lovebirds went ahead and planned a full-fledged murder to knock him out of the equation. Cary was found gunned down in his house alongside his father, Philip Height. The entire crime scene looked staged, and nothing was stolen, even though the murderer broke into the house. The cops grew suspicious and decided to further investigate the case. Friends and family drew their own conclusions when Craig, the brother-in-law, soon moved in with Robin Height and took over the husband's role. He slept in the same bed, took the kids to school, and seemed to be replacing Robin's husband entirely. But love wasn't the only motive. There was a $3.5 million life insurance policy on the life of Cary Height and Craig Height's share of his father's estate. The prosecutor, Michael Muldrew, brought out these observations during the trial. Soon, Craig was arrested and charged with the murder of his brother and father. He was sentenced to life in prison. However, locals accused Robin to also be responsible for the murder and wanted her to be locked up in jail too. But Robin was smart. She played the victim card of losing her loving husband and turned against her lover. She said, quote, "When I looked at him, I just felt disgusted. I wasn't comfortable with the relationship anymore. I realized there is a chance that he could have done this." End quote. It was found that in 2011, Robin was in the news again for a different reason. It was for threatening her new boyfriend's ex. Considering her past, do you believe people can change? Let us know in the comments below. Number 2, the calculated murder affair. Love is complicated. In 2014, Sabrina Limone's husband Robert was found gunned down in the train yard where he worked. After her husband's death, Sabrina wrote a beautiful, simple post on her Facebook saying, quote, "We thank you all so much for acts of random kindness that have been shown to us. Flowers, gifts, hugs, food. All of the love that has come to us has been such a beautiful tribute to the amazing man Robert was and will never be forgotten." End quote. Well, before you fall for the grateful and heartfelt message, let's break the ice. Sabrina, along with her new lover Jonathan Hearn, were the ones who murdered Robert. During their trial, Jonathan testified that the two had originally planned to poison Robert by putting arsenic in his banana pudding. However, in the fear of getting caught and losing each other, they changed the plan. She called her husband and asked him to throw the pudding away because it was bad, and then chose a different weapon, a gun, hoping it wouldn't trace back to them. Jonathan was later convicted and had his sentence reduced for testifying against his lover and co-conspirator. Sabrina is currently serving 25 years in prison. Now, was she the true murderer, or did Jonathan just throw her under the bus? Number 1, the diabolical lovers. Love has no boundaries. Here is a love triangle of a different kind. In 1955, Denise Laub was willing to sacrifice everything for her love, Jacques Algaron. Laub was working as a secretary at the National Institute of Statistics in Rouen, France. That's where she met the young and handsome soldier Algaron. But Algaron wasn't as charming on the inside as he seemed to be on the outside. He was secretly a monster and believed he had every right to humiliate women. He once ordered Laub to sleep with other men so she could crawl back to him and apologize. Once the initial degradation was accomplished, Algaron decided to take his game even further. One evening during dinner, he told Denise the only way she could prove her love was by murdering her own daughter, 2-year-old Kathy. She cried and refused, but Algaron had the power to break her resistance and convinced her that she could do it. Although she agreed, she lacked the killer instinct, as deep down, she was a good human being. She tried to drown Kathy and also tried to drop her from a window, but each time, the child survived. Of course, she was happy about that, but still wanted to prove her love to Algaron. Eventually, she gave in, and Kathy's cause of death was drowning in the bathtub. During the police investigation, Laub quickly caved and told, quote, "I am a monster." But then she admitted that Algaron was, quote, "the devil incarnate." She claimed she did it because of Algaron's pressure, and that he was the mastermind, while Algaron claimed that Denise was crazy. However, the jury didn't agree with Algaron, and he was sentenced to 20 years of hard labor, and Laub received life behind bars and an eternity of guilt. Thanks for watching. What did you think of these deadly love affairs? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time on The Bad Badger.